The Finals MVP award. Probably the most coveted award in the whole entire NBA. Sure, MVPs are nice, even sometimes scoring titles, whatever. But I think a Finals MVP is what every NBA player craves for. And today, in this video, we're going to be talking about a specific Finals MVP that doesn't get much attention. What's going on, guys? SMH Super Mario Hoops back with some more hoops. And today I'm bringing you the story of the most confusing Finals MVP in NBA history. So most of the time in recent history, it's been pretty easy to decipher who's going to win the Finals MVP award. Well, most of the time, that is. And then obviously you got in the 2000s era, like we knew Shaq was going to win the Finals MVP in the early 2000s. We knew Kobe was going to win them later with the Lakers. It was pretty obvious Dwayne Wade was going to win it in 2006. In the 90s, I mean, most of that was run by the Bulls, and MJ is arguably the greatest of all time, most would say. And I mean, the 80s was run by the Celtics and Lakers, so that's a bunch of greats right there. That leads us to the era of the 1970s, which is probably the least dominated era by a single team. There were 8 different champions in the whole entire decade, and only 2 teams won multiple times, and that was the Knicks, who won twice, and also the Celtics won twice. And now obviously on the other teams it only won once. I mean, we know how great Kareem is, we know how great Wilt was with the Lakers, even Rick Barry on the Warriors. And Bill Walton was only a season removed of being the league MVP. That leads us to the 1978 and 1979 rivalry between the Washington Bullets and Seattle Supersonics, where specifically for this video, we're going to be talking about the 1978 NBA Finals, where the Bullets ended up winning 4 games to 3, and Wes Unseld was named the Finals MVP. Or so we think. Take a look at this at the end of Game 7.
Johnson begins the countdown. They must shoot quickly. It is in and out. Unseld with control. It is about to end. Bobby Dandridge. He will be our most valuable player.
What did he just say? I need to hear that again. Run it back, please.
Control. It is about to end. Bobby Dandridge. He will be our most valuable player.
Bobby Dandridge. He will be our most valuable player.
Bobby Dandridge voted the CBS most valuable player here in the NBA Championship Series, and the celebration can begin in Washington. The happy champions of the NBA, Larry Wright, Kevin Gravy, the most valuable player, Bobby Dandridge, Charles Johnson there embracing. Greg Mallard, the rookie from Oregon, who provided some great moments for the Bullets.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So although it's documented online and you can find anywhere basically that Wes Unseld was the 1978 Finals MVP, on television they announced Bob Dandridge as the Finals MVP. Weird. And the weirder thing is, you can look up anything you want about Bob Dandridge being the 1978 Finals MVP, you won't find a single thing. So was Wes Unseld really the Finals MVP? Or was it actually Bob Dandridge? Well, why don't we just take a look at the stats and see if we can find anything there. So as it appears on paper, it looks like Wes Unseld was nothing more than about a double-double guy. I mean, defensively his stats weren't that great. He was a pretty good passer for a big man. Little alright efficiency, but nothing too crazy, to be honest. Moving over to Bob Dandridge, I mean, he played a lot of minutes a game, over 40. About 20 points, 7 rebounds, not too bad for a small forward. Also 4 assists. He actually was second on the whole entire team. Steal and a block. It's all right. 45% from the field. You know, that's okay. 66 if you round up. 66% from the free throw line. I mean, I guess that's all right too. But I mean, honestly, if we're looking at stats, I think the real MVP has got to be Elvin Hayes. I mean, the dude he did play a lot of minutes a game, but he shot just about as good as Bob Dandridge from the free throw line and had slightly more points per game. He also had more rebounds than Wes Unseld. 1.5 assists, not the greatest, but he had 1.6 steals and 2 blocks, in which he led the whole entire team in that category. Also 48%, it's not too bad. So really, just looking at the stats on paper, you'd think Elvin Hayes would be deserving of the Finals MVP award. So why didn't Elvin Hayes win the Finals MVP award then? I mean, 7 of the 10 times that the team won, that was the leading scorer on the team, all 7 times that they won, they were the Finals MVP of that series in the 2000s, for example. Even looking at the 1990s, literally every time that the team won that had the leading scorer on their team, which was every time, that player won Finals MVP. Michael Jordan all 6 times, Olajuwon back-to-back, Tim Duncan in 99, you got Isaiah Thomas in 1990, all those times. And you would think he'd be able to get away with it because, I mean, even some guys like Kawhi Leonard in 2014 and Iguodala in 2015, yeah, they didn't really lead their team in scoring. I know they had, you could argue, better stats or better impact in other categories. And even Jerry West, not too long before this, won the Finals MVP on the losing squad. But it's just weird to think that Elvin Hayes, with those stats, didn't win the Finals MVP. Well, let's look at who they were being defended by, though. These were the two that were mainly guarding Elvin Hayes throughout the series, Jack Sikma and Paul Silas, both who at the time weren't really known as great defenders, or really ever. And I mean, I think the stats speak for themselves anyways. I'm sure nobody really expected much from Wes Unseld. One, because Marvin Webster put up really similar stats to Rudy Gobert would today. And also just because Wes Unseld wasn't the same offensive threat as, say, Elvin Hayes was. So I feel like he kind of got a pass for that. As for Bob Dandridge, life was not really easy for him this series either. I mean, one of the guys he was being guarded by was Gus Williams, who led the whole team in steals with 2 a game. I mean, nobody else averaged more than 1. And then you got Dennis Johnson, who's known as one of the greatest defenders probably ever. And I mean, he averaged over 2 blocks a game, almost 2.5 blocks for a guard. This dude was like 6'2", and he was just clamping on defense. So I feel like that kind of took into account maybe for Bob Dandridge. And I mean, Dennis Johnson was good enough to win Finals MVP the next year anyways. Another thing against Elvin Hayes might have been the lead in scoring chart in the 1970 NBA Finals series. I mean, if you look at it, like only half of them really even won. And if you see the winners, I mean, Gail Goodrich, Elvin Hayes, and Gus Williams, none of them even won the Finals MVP award. And I mean, with half of them being losses, it probably just threw off the whole system. I'm not really sure. But I mean, it's kind of hard to tell because, I mean, the only ones that you had that actually won the award in the whole decade were Kareem in 71 and Rick Barry in 75. So maybe that kind of was a factor as well. I'm not really too sure. But I mean, it's just kind of weird because nowadays you wouldn't even fathom that, really. As for some of you that think it's just some network award and maybe it's not even related to the real NBA awards whatsoever, I mean, I looked through the whole internet. As you can see, all my search results, nothing even came close to a CBS NBA Finals MVP award or whatever. So, I mean, I really don't think it was supposed to be any different. If it was, it's way long gone now. And this will give you an idea of CBS hosting the NBA Finals. So the NBA aired on CBS from basically 1973 to 1990. From 75 to 79, it aired all the NBA Finals games live. And then live game coverage on the network resumed in 82. And CBS aired weeknight playoff games on tape delay at about 11:30 Eastern time. And it continued this until about the mid-1980s. But overall, they were basically done with all NBA game film at 1990. So it really didn't last that long. So they probably either didn't care about the award, or it was the same award, or it really didn't have much significance. And from 1990 to 2002, the NBA Finals was aired on NBC. And from 2002 till present day today, it's been aired on ABC. But there hasn't been any specialized Finals MVP award per network really since then. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I just think it's pretty unique because, I mean, Wes Unseld is known as really the Finals MVP for that year, but Bob Dandridge was announced on live TV as the Finals MVP, yet really Elvin Hayes had the best stats. So, I mean, it kind of makes it the most confusing Finals MVP, hence the name of this video. But if you guys are interested in this content, obviously like, comment, and subscribe, but also you can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter for my YouTube account page, and I'll be putting those on the screen. So if you do find this stuff entertaining, you can always follow me there for better updates. So then you'll always be able to get the up-to-date when I post or when I'm about to make a video or whatever. But I think that's just about going to do it for me in this episode. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Peace.